Just go his way.
No, I'll just do the thing where I like walk in. Hello. I don't know. What do I do?
Speak.
Channeling YouTuber energy. Hello everyone, my name is Natalie DC and I'm an 18-year-old artist, reader, and writer here to talk about books with you and art and maybe a little bit of writing, we'll see. This is my first video on this YouTube channel and as you can tell, I don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay. We will figure things out. I had this idea where basically every month I'll be reading books that have covers just in one color. So for January, I read only red books. Now, this is my first time doing this challenge, so just prepare. Some covers might not be completely red, you know, I'm trying, okay? So basically, what this challenge consists of, it doesn't count arcs unless I say so, because this is my challenge and I make the rules. It doesn't count any books that I need to read for school because I am a college student. I do need to read books for school, but they don't have very nice covers. They have very ugly colors, so I won't be counting those. And yeah, those are basically the only two rules. Every month I'll just be trying to read as many books as possible in whatever color I choose. So I'll be going in order of The Rainbows, Roy G. Biv. We all learned it in elementary school, so January, red. That's what we're gonna be talking about today. Okay, enough for the intro. Let's get started. So the first red book that I read in the month of January was The Last One by Fatima Daas. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. And this is a, I believe, 2020 release. Yes. Yes, so this book was first published in 2020 and it was re-released with this beautiful cover in 2021, and I received an arc of this book. Already talking about arcs, even though that was the first rule in the challenge, but this arc is kind of red, so I had to include it. Yeah, so I received this arc from Teen Ink and the publisher, so thank you for that. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. I gave it 4 stars, okay? I really enjoyed it. The last one follows the author. It's sort of a memoir of sorts, kind of written in verse, very lyrical in its prose, and it basically discusses the author, who is the child of Algerian immigrants, and how she kind of deals with her mental health and her burgeoning sexuality living in France. I really enjoyed it. It was really up my alley. I related to it on many fronts, so that's always fun. The cover was amazing. The prose was gorgeous. It's a very short read, I believe only less than 200 pages, so you could probably knock this out in like a day or so, which I did. I read it in one sitting, which is totally unheard of for me, so yeah, it was a really nice book to start off the new year with. And I wanted to share some quotes with you from the book that I really resonated with, and when I read them, I just went, oof, you know, those kinds of quotes. So the first quote is, "Because it's hard to always be on the outside looking in, looking at people, never with them, your life passing you by, everything passing you by." I really love that. And then the second quote is, "It's like I'm leaving a part of myself in Algeria, but every time I tell myself I won't be going back." Beautiful. That's The Last One by Fatima Daas. Highly recommend it. The next book is The Happy Marriage by Tahar Ben Jelloun. Also, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. It was originally published in French and was translated by Andre Nafis Sahali. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right also. So this book is basically a piece of literary fiction. It was originally published in 2012 and was republished with this beautiful cover in 2016. I know it's not completely read. Okay, I'm already breaking my own rules, but just bear with me. as the months go by and we keep doing color challenges, I think I'll get better at this. I think I will get covers that are more of the color that I set out to read. So anyway, this has some red in it. I'm gonna count it. So this book follows a painter living in Casablanca, Morocco. He is at the height of his career and he is suddenly befallen by a stroke and is paralyzed from the waist down. And this book, it's about the painter and his wife. And the first about two-thirds of the novel is from the painter's perspective, kind of just dissing his wife, just saying like, my wife sucks, she's the reason that I'm paralyzed from the waist down, she's the reason my career is falling apart, all of these things. So basically, two-thirds of the book, the reader is kind of made to believe that the painter's wife is a horrible human being. So that's kind of the first two-thirds of the novel, and then the last third of the novel follows the painter's wife. We hear her side of the story. We hear about her life growing up, meeting the painter, having a family with him, and how she's had to deal with being married to a man who basically has no respect for her. And this book, the way it's framed is supposed to mirror how women are treated in real life. Our voices are not heard, and when they are heard, they are transformed into things that we didn't say or didn't do. And that's what this book does. It makes the reader believe the wife to be a monster, and then at the end, the reader finds out that the husband himself was actually in the wrong. So I really loved how the author framed this novel. Even though it did drag on in the middle and I kind of got bored in the middle, I still felt like it did what it had to do. So I gave it 3.75 stars. And yes, I use decimal stars. I am that type of reader. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed this novel. I'll definitely check out more books from the author after I'm done with this color challenge, of course. I highly recommend this book. So the next red book that I read in the month of January, because in between the Happy Marriage and this next book, I read An Arc, but the cover was completely gray, so I could not count it, just to be transparent with y'all. But the next book that I read was The Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Ribay. And finally, we have a cover that's actually completely red. Good job, Natalie. Pat myself on the back for that one. Finally following the rules of the challenge that I created. So this book actually blew me away. My socks were knocked off, my head just exploded out of my body. It was a mess. It really surprised me. Even though the Goodreads ratings were really high, like I think it's like a 4.3 or something, like everyone loves this book. I had never read it, so I decided to check it out for this challenge. So this book is a glimpse into the Philippines' war on drugs, told through the eyes of a Filipino-American 17-year-old boy who is trying to find out the truth behind his estranged cousin's mysterious death. It gripped me. It was mysterious, it was exhilarating from start to finish. I thought the prose was eloquent, and yet the dialogue between the characters, especially the teenage characters, were so realistic in how they talked. It was never over the top or too simplified. It was just right, and that's what I love in YA especially. All the while, it was telling this complex, very nuanced tale, and I think it did a beautiful job. It really handled all the characters' complexities and flaws with such grace, especially the main character. There's a few scenes where the main character kind of grapples with his own privilege of growing up in America and being away from the death and destruction that this war on drugs has caused his father's family. Yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I loved it, so I would highly recommend it, and I can't wait to read more from this author. So far, so good with the Red January challenge, because I'm loving all these books. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this video. So the next red book that I read in the month of January is Darius the Great Is Not Okay by Adib Khorram. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. And this book is similar to the last book in that it explores a mixed teenage boy's perspective as he travels to his home country for the first time. In this case, it follows Darius Kellner, who is half Persian, and after his family gets word that his grandfather is sick, the family travels all the way from America to Iran to visit his family for the first time, and it's really exciting. But at the same time, Darius, who is clinically depressed, is grappling with his identity, his kind of disconnection with his family, and kind of trying to fit in among these family members that he just does not know, all the while trying to still remain true to himself. And that's kind of what the book is about. I really enjoyed it. I thought the middle kind of dragged on a tad bit, but overall I enjoyed the relatable depictions of mental illness that Darius experiences. Kind of his tender moments with his father I thought was really adorable, And yeah, I thought the themes were very well executed and pretty realistic. I thought the writing was a bit too simplistic at times though. So sometimes I'd be reading like an emotionally charged event in the book, and then the author would hit us with a maybe it did matter, or maybe it was for the best, just some sentence along those lines. I don't know, after like the 25th time of the author adding that in there, I just got sick of that kind of writing style. And so I thought it was a bit simplistic, and I felt that it could have been a bit more eloquent, especially for the complex themes that were being discussed in the book. But overall, I enjoyed it. I can't complain, so I gave it 3.5 stars. And I'll definitely be checking out the second book of the series, where Darius gets a boyfriend. I'm excited for that, because there was like really no romance in this book, even though it was labeled LGBTQ, but that's okay. I understand why the author felt the need to do that, so not a big deal. I'll be reading the second book whenever. So the next book that I read in the month of January is called The Other Americans by Laila Lalami. This book is a mystery that follows multiple perspectives in a small town in the Mojave Desert after the mysterious death of a Moroccan immigrant who is the victim of a hit-and-run accident. This book is going from perspective to perspective, from the immigrant's daughter to his wife to his neighbors, as the town and his family grapple with his death, deal with their grief, and at the same time try to figure out the mysterious circumstances behind his death. I loved this book so much. The prose was excellent. The mystery was gripping. I was always on the edge of my seat trying to guess who did it. At the end it became a bit predictable, but in the end I gave it 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I felt that the themes were extremely relatable. There was hardly any perspectives that I was bored by. I was always pretty gripped by most of the perspectives, which is always something to be strived for in a book with so many different perspectives. I felt there were a couple perspectives that could have been taken out, as they were only gone back to I think once or twice, but overall I felt it was a really strong mystery thriller, and I would highly recommend it for anyone who thinks this synopsis sounds intriguing. But yeah, I loved it. It's read. Moving on. So the last read book that I read in the month of January was Dreaming of You, a novel in verse by Melissa Lozada-Olivia. This book is a self-insert novella in verse that tells the story of love, loss, celebrity obsession, and Latin upbringing from sort of the perspective of the author, hence why I called it a self-insert. Now, some people don't like self-insert novels. I personally don't mind them as long as they're not too like cringy or out there. And I thought this novella was cool. It was interesting. It's nothing like I had ever seen before. It was in verse, like I said. So all poetry pretty much. During the book, the main character, kind of the author, resurrects the real life. This was a real person. Hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She was a Tejano musician. Her name was Selena Quintanilla. In this book, the main character resurrects her during this badass scene where she uses dark magic to like resurrect her. It's really cool, and there's like a cute little comic at the end showing that ritual, and it was really neat. That's probably my favorite part. After that, it kind of gets into like the whole parasocial relationships that people can fixate on when it comes to celebrities, and I thought the themes were cool, the premise was cool, but at the end it kind of felt a bit lacking. A lot of people don't like this book because of the way it portrays the real life musician. I can't speak on that, as I have no prior knowledge of this musician. Prior to reading this book, I had no idea who she was, so I really can't speak on that. So in the end, I gave this book 3.25 stars. I really enjoyed this style, even though at times I couldn't really figure out what was going on. Sometimes I would just be reading a poem and I would be like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I would not understand what was going on, but you know, it was a time. It was a good time, and that's all that matters when reading. So yeah, so I gave it 3.25 stars. If the premise sounds interesting, check it out for yourselves. If not, no big deal. So that is the end of my read challenge in January. Don't know what I'm calling this challenge. Probably just gonna call it like I only read books in January, which is not true. I read some arcs that were not read, but we're just gonna ignore that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel for more stuff like this. I'm gonna be posting more videos like this. Next month I'm doing orange, so only orange books. I have a stack of books. Let me see if I can bring it just to show you. Yup. So these are all the books I'm gonna try to get to in February. It's already mid-February and I haven't even read half of these books. And there's a couple more I want to read, so pray for me, guys, because this is a lot. But yeah, we'll see how much I get to in the next video. So yeah, if you're interested in that, subscribe to my channel. You can check out my socials in the description box below. You can check me out on Instagram, Goodreads, Storygraph, and as I said at the beginning of this video, I am a writer. My debut poetry chapbook, Blue Pearl, was published, and so if you'd be interested in checking that out and supporting me, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'll have it linked down below. But otherwise, guys, I hope you have a fantastic day, week, month, and yeah, thanks so much for watching. Bye.